Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is I'm from Neolith in South Africa. Thank you so much for participating in our virtual rendezvous. I'll hand you over to Theo, and he'll take it from here. Thank you, Theo.
Great. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Neolith asked me to host this rendezvous. It was quite interesting because I had a look back and sort of what was being done in terms of this thing. There's a lot of these sort of seminars and stuff going on, or webinars. Everybody talking, but I think in terms of architecture, there's not too much of this going on. I think especially for us as designers in South Africa, it's good to discuss this and sort of where we're going. Today's theme or sort of topic is to discuss what we think what the influence this pandemic COVID-19 is going to have on design. Seeing that we're sort of in the bound seats when it comes to design, in a sense, I think it's good to discuss it under us and sort of discuss sort of where we're going with this. Where I want to start with this, I would like every member of today's panel just to introduce themselves. So what I'll start is we're starting with Michael. If you can start, and then we'll go through and everybody just sort of who you are and what you do as a designer and which industry you are in.
Perfect, thanks, Theo. Yeah, my name is Michael. I run a very small bespoke practice in sunny Ballito, sort of southeast coast of South Africa. But yeah, we just by way of location, we mainly work in the high-end sort of residential sector. It's sort of Ballito has become quite a popular attraction to a lot of South Africans looking to relocate down here. Obviously, the airport opening up in 2010 helped that boom. So yeah, mainly residential. We are working with a couple sort of adaptive reuse of commercial spaces now that office spaces are almost becoming more like dinosaurs. So yeah, I was just thinking about how even on the commercial scale, how we're going to sort of reuse these structures that we've got instead of going along and just keep extending towns and creating sort of ghost towns. It's how we can actually regenerate and reinvigorate the sort of town centers and the town squares, and then obviously, yeah, just looking at reusing buildings and just seeing how that sort of impacts on us socially, because I think, but yeah, we'll obviously get into a little bit further later on down the line, but mainly residential, yeah, a lot of sort of timeless, seamless architecture, and yeah. Okay,
thank you. Alevani, you can please introduce yourself and where you fit into our segment.
Thanks, Theo. I'm Aluwani Mutamani. I'm CEO of Mutama Kitchens and Interiors. I'm also the interior designer there. So we mainly focus on residential areas. So our clients are mid-class to high-end. Yeah, we're based in Centurion. Our showrooms are based in 4 ways. Yes, I think the most I can say about us.
In a nutshell. Great. Thank you, Alevani. Nikita?
Hi, guys. Yes, so I'm Nikita, and we're based in Umhlanga. We are a firm that is quite new. We merged with an older firm, so it's OMA name, and we mostly in a lot of government and also residential work. So more on the higher end, because being in Umhlanga and Ballito, that is kind of the field that is going. With a lot of people also relocating from Joburg, especially the ones that want to retire, they do come down to the North Coast. So that is where we mostly are at the moment. But yeah, we're quite a young, dynamic little team.
Okay, cool. So just residential, or all over to commercial also?
Mostly residential, but we do have quite a lot of commercial work as well, as mostly in the government sector.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Vainant?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Theo. I'm Vainant. I'm the director of Tromp Studio, which is a design firm. We have 3 divisions, of which is Tromp Architects, Tromp Branding, and Tromp GoLab. Tromp Architects focuses on commercial and residential projects, and we have projects, we're based in Woodstock, Cape Town, and we have projects in and around Cape Town, some in Joburg, and then internationally as well. Trom branding is something that was established during lockdown, which I'll discuss with you later. But we do branding, marketing, relations, social media marketing, etc. And then Trom Collab is collaboration between multiple business professionals and disciplines, and we undertake projects together in order to save the client time and money and effort, etc. So that's more or less what we do.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Just to give you guys an indication, I'm Theo from TVAD, Theo Botma Architects and Design. Also a relatively young firm. Started my practice in 2017, 3 years ago. We situated in Joburg, Parktown North. Yeah, and we also focus on high-end residential. I can't really say too much in sort of like just this area. My work spread out from Rustenburg out to Brakpan. If we can help, like, let's say that we don't complain. If we need to travel, we go. And it's about creating spaces for our clients at the end of the day. And I do enjoy the personal part of I think, residential, especially high-end residential. And also the emotions that you work through, because you don't just work with one person or sort of just like a simple thing. You work with husband, wife, the dynamics in between. And I think that's the great part about it. But yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. But yeah, so getting into our theme today, or our subject, like we said today, is how the pandemic will influence changes to design, how we see that. But how I want to sort of, I want to take a step back on this and basically like ask each of you to sort of look back at what lockdown was for you and sort of what you experienced. Personally, I enjoyed lockdown. I started baking. I started looking at different other things. There was time for these type of things. So I would like to hear sort of what each of you sort of can take, or like look back and take from lockdown, and sort of what you want to keep from it. So Michael, we'll start with you.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I think during lockdown, I think every profession in the world became professional bakers and cooks and pizzeria makers. But yeah, so again, I enjoyed, we didn't necessarily close. So we obviously just continued to work from home. Obviously, it forced us to start doing a lot of e-meetings. We do have a lot of clients from Joburg that are moving down here. So at the moment, their primary residence is up in Joburg. So yeah, a lot of e-meetings, a lot of new ways, sort of presentation skills that we've had to bring on to be able to convey, without obviously sitting in a boardroom with them or going through it on the TV, convey our designs and the feeling of space through to them, with them being obviously remote. So yeah, it obviously forced us to look for new ways. And I think it's something that we'll just continue doing. There's one thing I have enjoyed is that meetings are quite sharp, punctual, and to the point. So they're obviously very, very structured. They don't carry on for 2 or 3 hours on site or whatever it may be. But yeah, so I've enjoyed that a lot. And we've obviously had a lot of time to sort of think about where we're heading as a company. We're also fairly new. I mean, I only opened up in September last year. So yeah, obviously with the pandemic coming around, no one obviously had time to prepare. But yeah, sink or swim, and we've sort of just taken it in our stride, and I think it's just made us more focused on the path ahead.
So almost like a thinking time, like you could sit back and could sit back. We had time for that, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then also you start appreciating the spaces that we create a lot more as well, because you're obviously now creating. I mean, even if it's just a house. You're creating a space that family is now going to enjoy. And if this lockdown ever happens again or another pandemic comes out, you need to almost create this oasis in their own sort of plot, or their own plot of land that they're purchasing.
Yeah, I think the nice thing was sitting back and getting calls from clients saying, look, I actually love my house now. Type of thing. We didn't know what you were thinking at that stage, but now we understand, now that we're here the whole time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like you said before, I think it's also the idea of not an office space just being a place that you go to work. It's now actually a place that you will live in. So it's a multi-use space inside your home as well. And it's something where, yeah, every now and again you may have to put it on mute because the kids are running around and creating havoc and the dog's barking. But at least, yeah, now it's becoming more a social aspect of work and being able to balance that correctly.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Alubani, your feedback.
Thanks, Theo. Actually, for me, lockdown actually gave me a lot of time to reflect. But more so, I got a lot of time to relax. I never felt that I was tired until the lockdown. I slept a lot. I prayed more than I used to pray before. I actually had a lot of time to spend with my kids also, because somehow I've been neglecting them with going up and down, because with our business, we work all over South Africa. So sometimes we're in Limpopo, sometimes we're in Mpumalanga, and we don't get a lot of time to spend with our kids. So yeah, we took the time and used it to do that also, and to actually connect with our kids. The other thing that we did was, because we had a lot of work before the lockdown actually came, design work. So we spent a whole lot of time. So our designs actually improved during that time, because we spent a whole lot of time actually focusing on the clients. And then we also did a lot of presentations with clients. So the challenge was the fact that I actually like to do my own measurements for houses, because I appreciate the architectural plans, but eventually I want to go and see how it actually looks at site, if the building is actually built according to spec, you know. So now to have to explain to a client how to measure a window, for an example, that you actually take 3 measurements, whereas a person can actually only take 1 measurement and get away with it. But for a kitchen, you need to know the height of the window, where it's starting from the bottom, you know, so that it can actually make sense during the design process. So we actually had to educate our clients now to really do our job, measurements. And then the other thing, I actually did a lot of admin work, which was behind, you know. But in terms of design, I think the designs that came out during the lockdown are way better than the designs that were before. So we actually improved a lot. So it helped. Yeah.
So you would say that the time to actually put the time into design was what you want to take out from?
Yes.
Will you in the future now make time for this?
Sorry?
Will you do that in the future now, make time for design, or are we going to go back into that rat race again?
It's better to give realistic timelines to our clients, so that we give them actually the best quality. Because the quality comes from the design. Before we can even talk about installation, the design must reflect good quality also, you know, and to show that you've actually put your thinking into it. So clients actually appreciate that.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you, Alima. Nikita?
Yes, so with also our firm being quite new, it was quite of a adjustment initially, and also a new way of trying to work with clients. So for us, we still worked during lockdown, but from home remotely. We mostly focused on a lot of admin, because mostly we've noticed, because of the deadlines, you tend to just rush through things just to make sure that you can meet with the client's requirements, or whoever needs the consultants, whoever you're working with. And it actually allowed us to just step back a bit and really look at what the quality that we were giving out to our design teams, or our other consultants or the clients. And a nice thing that I also liked about this time is not all of us knew certain programs. So it was one person would do all of the presentation because they were really good at it. But now there was an ability for those where it wasn't their strength to take that and to work on a program that they didn't know before. They had that time to play with it. They didn't have to worry too much about it. A deadline.
Testing for error.
Yes. Yes, definitely. So that was nice. And then for me personally, I decided that I've never really built physically myself. So it was so long. We decided that we were going to do a whole outdoor area, but do something in different materials. Try to do something that is different to what we normally do at the norm, which I enjoyed very much. I learned the mistakes, what I can do, what I can't do. And so that was very nice to be actually physical, being able to have the time to be physical at home, actually building something and creating something with my own hands, which I never get to do because I'm always stuck behind a desk or at meetings, which take forever. Like Michael was saying, it was quite nice for that. And also with being able to find new ways of presenting to clients. Really enjoying this way of using virtual reality and filming how we see walking through the building and then sending it to a client so they get a better idea, which is taking time, but it works. They understand it better.
Yeah, I think that was the nice thing about this was we could be more interactive with our clients. I found because I had 2 designs that was quite intense that I worked through with clients, and it was nice. You don't understand? Oh, let me just Google share screen. Oh yeah, now we understand. Type of thing. So that was quite nice to I think for myself also to do that with clients. Okay, thank you. Wynand, from your side.
Okay, well, in my years in the industry, I've learned there's 2 things that you should do in your business, and it's working in your business and working on your business. So when lockdown started, what we did was we focused on working on the business instead of just in the business, because obviously the workload reduced. So going into lockdown, the company was just an architectural firm. The company was called Tromp Architecten, and we started brainstorming and thinking of ways in which we can adapt and improve. And we acquired additional skills. And then at the end, coming out of lockdown, like I said earlier, the company was rebranded, restructured completely to include the 3 divisions. We did a new website. We now, like I said earlier, we're not just an architectural firm, it's a design studio. So we do architecture still, obviously, and then also the branding and the marketing. And then with the collaboration, what the idea behind the collaboration is that to work in isolation nowadays is ultimately not an option anymore. We have to look out for each other and we have to stand together. And with ProLab, what we do is from studio we'll get the project and then we outsource to every discipline that there is out there, because we have quite a vast network of professionals coming in that we use. And by doing that, I think we've become stronger in the sense that we can deliver a multitude of services to any client almost regarding design. So Tromp Studio believes in a holistic approach to design. We design everything from your branding, your logo, all the way straight through to handing over your keys to your office. So I think that's more or less what we've done during lockdown.
I think that's I must say the collab part that you just mentioned, I think there's so much need for that. And I think there's so much, clients, I think, underestimate what we are able to do actually. I would say at the end of the day, like I'm currently busy with the townhouse complex. We usually, like you would do the design architecture, great. But okay, now this needs to be sold to potential like buyers. Like, how do we help them with the 3Ds of it? How do we help with, like you say, the branding? And us being part of it, it helps us to actually bring that same sort of concept through from where we started in the beginning and get it out to the end user. So I think that's a great initiative.
That's the thing about being an architect is, I believe an architect is not just, it doesn't just design buildings. You solve problems, whether through drawings, through sketches, through collaboration, whatever. You need to solve a problem, whether you're on site or behind your desk. And I think that's what I read the other day in Anyways, that they said that the term architect will disappear within the next few years, because architects don't just design buildings anymore. They are designers as a whole. You can design practically anything if you're an architect. So interesting future lying ahead of us.
No, I think, yeah, that's true that you're saying. Like, we become so multidisciplinary. And it's also part of, we need to adapt at the end of the day. And I think it's great because we can bring other viewpoints to the table that other people or other disciplines can't necessarily. So that's a great thing. Great, thanks, Werner.
You're welcome.
So the next thing, guys, taking from all this, I think all of us there's some good experiences, and I think some tension in a sense for us to get through this and realize, look, we need to get through this, and we need to make sure that we get through this well. How, like, looking now back and speaking to your clients, sort of, was there I think what we mentioned, like the house office part was quite a thing that's sort of popping up. But in your opinion, is there anything specific that came up from client side? Michael, if you can start first.
Yeah, I think touching obviously from that office space, again, people are a lot more open to that idea of working remotely. So yeah, but not being, like you said, not being aware. I'm designing a house at the moment for a family that's moving down from Joburg, and at the moment now, he's kind of locked and tucked away in his office. And there's over lockdown, we worked on for him to kind of break out of that mold and realize that he can actually still be a part of everything and be a part of the family and be visual with the kids, but still have his own private, quiet space. I think for him, trying to get clients to understand and kind of break out of that mold that they're always used to. And again, as designers, that we've got to push those boundaries all the time. So yeah, I think that was quite a fun exercise. We went probably around 4 or 5 different studio positions or office positions around the house until finally we kind of got to a good compromise and he was happy. But I think, I mean, we're quite lucky. I know in Joburg and in Cape Town, it's very different and very different climate conditions. But obviously on the North Coast, we've got a very tropical climate, very coastal climate. So a lot of our design work is based, like I said, seamlessly indoors and outdoors. And I think that now will start pushing through even to the colder climates up in Joburg, where clients will want to have that indoor-outdoor relationship. I mean, I think people felt very sort of claustrophobic during lockdown. Everyone couldn't do their usual running around and they couldn't do their usual errands. But the moment someone sort of stepped outside, it was like a new lease on life. So I think, yeah, luckily with our climatic conditions, we were doing that already. So it's something just, obviously being more socially responsible and pushing that through our design work a lot more. So yeah, inside outside, but nothing too, I mean, not that we've experienced, nothing too untoward, no extra requests. But yeah, just more how they can make their work and family life more seamless within a space and within a house.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Alewani?
Thanks, Theo. Can you please take me through that question? I didn't get you.
No problem. So basically what the next question is to, from what you've taken from this, we've now seen and sort of what we've gotten from lockdown. Was there any like specific requests or stuff that surfaced from client side that because of the lockdown now, like I said, like the office part was maybe now becoming a big thing in design? Did you get anything else that maybe that you could say was specific for you?
Okay. Yes. Yes, we did. So we got a lot of clients requesting to do their cinemas. So for us, we thought maybe because, I mean, they want to have a cinema, everyone is at home, so they want space to watch their movies. And then we also got a request to do an office, but only one request to do an office, because this particular client is working from home. She works at a bank, but now most of the staff is working at home. So she wanted an office to work from because she's not going to be going to work until next year. So yeah, I think those were the requests that we got during the lockdown.
That's interesting. I must say, I didn't think about the home cinemas, but that's actually quite a
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I'm forgetting something. Sorry, Theo, too. Yeah, the other one that we got a lot was the request to come do our bar. We want a bar. So so I thought because of the alcohol thing, people just realized that, you know what, the booze is just finished. And we could have stocked up before the lockdown and just stocked up our bar. So we got a couple of requests to do bars also. Yeah.
So that's an interesting one.
Mm.
With social distancing, or was this now with house party apps, so that they could like party with other people? Did you hear about the app House Party, where you could log in and you could almost like jump into somebody else's party, and you could be drinking and having a party with friends on the other side of the town, and then somebody can just walk in. So probably they just wanted to show off their bar. That's what's happened there. But thank you, Aliboni.
Okay, thank you.
Nikita, from your side.
I must have very different clients because they all asked for a home gym. So
wow,
they're very interesting people.
Is that Natal?
Myself, I'm going to get a home gym as well because I must say, being locked up, it's quite difficult. You tend to just get that way instead of with all the eating and the home bars, drinking. So yeah, we had I had two clients ask, one in Simbiti and a new one that we have now. They would like a small home gym. Even for the kids, I think also for the kids to be able to, because some people might not have a big yard, quite a smallish kind of yard. So they want an area where physical exercise being done. So that was one of the things that was quite different. Only very few people ask for home gyms, and now it's quite a popular thing to have just a little area where they can do multi different workouts.
Okay.
For me, that was it.
Well, if you saw, all the fitness sections was sold out before lockdown, so that equipment needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool. That's an interesting one. Bernard, from your side, anything you can take from clients?
We ran a campaign nearing the end of lockdown. The branding division did the campaign for the architectural division, where we said we wanted to help South Africans get back to work by applying or looking at existing office layouts and adjusting that according to, with the new regulations of social distancing and whatever. So that's picked up quite significantly. Like we've done tenant installations over the past few years quite a bit, but I mean, with that campaign, what happened was business owners started contacting us to help them relook at their space that they currently occupy and just kind of get the people moved further apart from each other. So that was one of the biggest things I think that we've taken from lockdown with regard to the projects that we do and the projects that we take on, is to help businesses reopen since the lockdown ended.
Yeah, so basically just assisting them in measures, applying the measures that was given through governments and helping them applying it in their own setups. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think from my side, clients, kitchens was always a big thing, but I think it got a lot more than emphasis from client side. Yeah, I must say the gyms. Yeah, that's an interesting one. And the bar, and Aliboni, there from your side, the bar is it's good. They're probably just prepping for after lockdown so that they're ready. If the friends come over, then there's that there. Cool. So then, moving on to the next question, guys. Now, seeing from what we've seen here and sort of from our client side, how do we think, like how's this going to sort of change design as a whole? Like I know most of us sort of speak about like residential architecture, And I know Michael didn't touch on more open plans of living, but do you think we're evolving more? Like, is there like a next step, a next trend type of thing? Because of what's happened now, people sort of thinking that's changed. Michael, you can start with that one.
So yeah, Theo, you're not talking just about residential, you're talking about sort of across all the other sectors. We've been thinking about it quite a bit, and I mean, people are sort of creatures of habit, so I think it is only a matter of time that once things start getting under control a little bit, obviously with the pandemic, people will start tending to go back to how they were doing things. But I think what I've found is people are a lot more scared of people now. So you're trying to create these sort of nice social gatherings, and like in the European towns, they've all got these town squares, and they've got these social areas that people can go out. A lot of them live in apartment blocks or city blocks, but it's about how we can think of space as that. I mean, it's that whole term luxury of space. So it's trying to rethink that. I think we fast got into a world where building became more expensive and property prices became more expensive, well, especially down here on the coast. So people could afford less and less, and everyone was sort of kind of getting crammed into smaller spaces, and us as architects were trying to give them space, but obviously financially people could afford obviously a lot smaller. So I think it's just, we've got to start thinking about how we can now start working that kind of social space. People love interaction with other people. People love to people watch, but I think it's at the same time giving them that distance that they need, obviously, just for health reasons and obviously for the pandemic as well. So I don't think people will forget about that. So I think they'll still be very kind of wary. But yeah, I think it's, and one of the things I was saying now just about adaptive reuse. I mean, I know Wynand was talking about doing office spaces and obviously reworking layouts to the design code and to the pandemic code, but it's also what is the next step of office buildings. I mean, I know in Umhlanga there's a whole hillside full of office buildings, and I mean they're 20, 30 stories up. And at the moment, during lockdown for the last 3 months, they've all been completely empty. So it's thinking about how we can reuse buildings that are already there, but obviously use them in a new way, where that's sort of micro offices or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's quite interesting, but I think we're going to learn a lot more about how people's behaviors are going to change as we obviously go working through this.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Michael. Alabani, from your side.
Okay. I think our projects are more on a residential side of things. I'm thinking for the ones that are, for the clients that are still feeling that COVID, or it's a scary thing for them, you would think of something like having a pandemic room in the house. So what I'm saying is, it's kind of funny, but to think of an entrance lobby that has space where the guests are actually changing their shoes and putting in slippers. I mean, that practice is already there in some of the communities, but I think you could have something like that in a house, a place where people can come in and sanitize their hands, a more permanent place where they can sanitize their hands. And maybe we can start having automated doors also at residential places, just to make sure that people they feel more safer, you know. But obviously, the most important thing is to keep the social distancing. But for residential homes, as we know, people might not really actually comply with that once they're in. But I would think that we just need to maybe just assist the client as they need and as they require.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you mentioned, like, because it's very, I think in South African terms, it's very European thinking of changing your shoes at the door. So that's how I see it. That's what I've seen it the most. Taking your shoes off. I remember once going to a client, and he's like, "Can you take your shoes off?" And I'm like, "Luckily, I did put my best socks on that day." So luckily. So it's quite a thing. It's a thing to get used to, because you now need to plan for these type of things. But yeah, that's quite an interesting observation, I must say.
Mm.
Thank you, Malawani.
Okay.
Nikita, from your side?
Yeah, so I think from a commercial side, and even schools, because we do quite a lot of schools, I think the technologies are going to change. Especially, it's very difficult to get, for example, a lot of kids to always be clean. And you're playing and you're running around, you're touching your books, you're going to desk. I think that the technologies of how we do things in a commercial environment might change. Whether it be like how Alwani was saying, doors will open for you. Maybe you actually don't to move from class to class. Maybe what happens is you stay in your class in your little area, and that's how I think it might change in a commercial way. But regardless, I do think that this pandemic will eventually it'll grow out, and we're social people. We want to be with people. We want to, I battled during this lockdown because you're so used to always being people, giving them a hug. If you see them, like when you were going shopping to like a spa, you saw someone you knew, but you didn't really know how to react now because you're like, I can't be excited and hug you. I just have to be like, hey, okay, cool, bye. And it's quite awkward, especially as us people. So I think for now, maybe our designs will change, but I think overall we need to realize that the pandemic will, obviously medicines will get better. Those kind of things will increase. The technologies behind that as well. So for me, design might change for a while, but I think overall we might go back to the way we are now with just better courtyards, like those kind of eco living. That would be still number one. But I don't think it should influence our designs in the long term. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I think I do agree with you. I think us as humans, we have certain elements that we like the open plan living. I think that's sort of and space, like Michael mentioned, is a thing, and that us as humans love space, like staying in small spaces and just opening into like space, sort of that will always be there. But like you say, I think this is also a bit of a temporary thing. We should enhance it or use it as it is now, but it can't detract from where we want to sort of go, I think, with what we're doing. Yeah, thank you. Wynand, from your side.
So there's two ways to think about this, I believe. So I understand that COVID will have an effect long-term, perhaps, on how we do things and how we design. If you think about it, this is not the first pandemic that has hit the world. Well, maybe not as extensive as this one, but it's not the first one. And things did not drastically change after the previous pandemics. So I think short-term, we're going to see less interaction, which is actually not a good thing, but human interaction. We're going to see remote working, and that's actually, I believe it's going to have a negative effect on us as humans. But I think long term, what they would want to see happening is less activity on site. So you're going to start seeing a lot of prefabrication happening, so that you don't have that interaction on site. So us as designers might have to start thinking about how we're going to adapt our skills and our way of thinking with regards to design to minimize activity on site. So things like container homes, etc. I think we're going to see. We've actually had 2 or 3 queries about container homes, because I believe people understand that we have to see less of each other. Unfortunately, in order for us to prevent this from happening again. But I mean, short term at the moment, I don't see how you want to get the economic activity back on track, etc. But I don't see an immediate change to design. Social distancing at offices, yes, you're going to see business owners looking for larger office space so that they can fit the amount of people in that they need in their offices, or they're going to close down the office completely and continue with remote working system. But yeah, like I said, I think long term we'll see automation, a lot of automation, virtual reality, and communication tools such as this. Not short term. I don't believe that it'll have a huge impact on us as designers short term.
So you touched on my second point, basically, that I wanted to do next was we've now gone through design and where we're going, and we realize it's not that much of a long-term change. It's short-term, but in terms of construction method, you mentioned container homes, of container type construction. What type of other constructions or construction methods do you think will happen in the future? Or what can you see happening?
Well, you know, the prefab homes that they try and market currently, I don't think it's a big thing yet, but it might become more desirable solution in the long run. And also it's a sustainable green method of doing things. So it is actually the correct trend, and we have to move towards that anyways. And I think the whole virus just kind of sped things up.
Cool, thank you. Michael, from your side, what would be your input in terms of this pandemic, us going through our design? What do you see, like material-wise or construction method-wise, we're going to in the future, or we're looking at?
Yeah, so I mean, I was approached by a client during lockdown. They actually looking to create what they sort of pointing as micro homes. So again, this kind of freestanding, call it entry level. I mean, Belize things are expensive. It's entry level, isn't so entry level, but it's a site of 33 homes, and he wants to be sort of quite economical with the floor plan. So obviously every square centimeter needs to have its purpose and its use, but something that can be built quite quickly. But also try and create a neighborhood type environment, so not have that sort of cookie cutter, every house being the same. And I think moving away from bricks and mortar, concrete, there's obviously, I've been looking at systems in South America where they're doing 3D printing with concrete. It's like a giant tube of toothpaste, and obviously works straight off the computer system. But again, yeah, there's technology and there's cost to that. But also, I mean, I do a lot of background research of mid-century modern era, sort of that post-war era in Los Angeles, so all the case study homes. And a lot of them based on sort of post and beam style architecture, where things were quite modular, quite simple. They used one or two sizes of steel, off the shelf sizes. So there wasn't any lead times or anything, and they purchased them and they were erecting frames of houses within 2-3 weeks. And yeah, so just trying to relook. I think in South Africa, compared to sort of the States where they build things out of timber and steel, and I think we still doing it very much the old style. But I think, starting to look at sort of modular homes, but built with prefab sizes of steel that's maybe, bought off the shelf. That's something like that would be able to get us into homes obviously a lot quicker. You can span more with steel, so you've got a lot more open plan living. And then obviously the infill walls allow you to chop and change the home throughout time as well. So they're not going to be load bearing walls. They'll be infill that you could sort of move around into your own configuration. So I think, we're starting to look a lot more into that. We're actually having a discussion in the office this morning about it. So just, looking at what people have done in the past, and just obviously, trying to better it and use technology nowadays to make it better.
Yeah, because I'm actually also currently doing it. I started with a brick and mortar sort of design here in Northcliffe and Joburg. And construction-wise, it just became too expensive to build against a slope. Because the site falls 7 stories from top to bottom. And so we are currently looking at lightweight steel structures as an alternative method to firstly get into budget, but secondly, also that will be a lot faster. So okay, thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Alawani, from your side.
Yeah, thanks, Theo. Obviously, I'm not an architect, as an interior, I'm just going to use my thinking. So I actually agree with Wynand and Michael in terms of houses that are actually going to reduce the lead time in terms of building. So the material maybe would be out of timber. The steel would be maybe for people that can afford, but for people that cannot afford, maybe they would go with the timber material as a material of construction. And obviously, you could, for us interior designers, we could actually do prefabrication, as Wynand was saying, and actually finish that house, and then it gets delivered actually complete. They are doing in the States. So I think that would be a way forward. But for South Africa, also at the same time, with timber houses, obviously they need to be in some sort of a security estate, you know, somewhere where it's secure, where there is control entry. But I think that's a way to go going forward.
But Alewani, from your side, on the interior level, do you see us using different materials or different construction ways of constructing on interiors from your side?
Yeah, yes, I see that, because in actual sense right now, people are actually, sometimes you find that someone wants to just add a room in the house. Maybe they have a large space, and then you go in, you create a room for them, but not using bricks. You use partitions. And a lot of people are doing that currently. So you could use different materials inside. You could actually partition with that and just paint over. I mean, if anyone does not touch or feel, they wouldn't even see that it's actually what you call a board. Yeah.
I think it's also a mind shift for South Africans, because we're still very much on brick and mortar. Like, it's not a house or an investment if it's not brick and mortar type of thing. But yeah, it's a mind shift that we need to take. If we look at other countries, it's the standard way of building. But yes, we have our setbacks that you've mentioned before. But thank you. Nikita, from your side.
Yeah, so I definitely think the lightweight steel is quite. We have a client now that we're just doing a design with the lightweight structures, and he actually wanted that, so that's what we're doing with them. But I also think I've noticed people are very much into buying old, dilapidated buildings or old houses, and then doing this partition walling inside. So in that way, they're still keeping the structure. So that doesn't take too long, but they're only changing really the interior. So they break down maybe the interiors and they do a lot of partitioning, which I feel is, we've had 2 clients that actually asked for that. So that way I feel, instead of, yes, buying land and making something brand new is amazing, but also I see people are seeing the need for buying something that's maybe much older, maybe that's been dilapidated, maybe it's just been standing there, repossessed. I don't really, that's what they see. And that's also becoming quite popular with a few clients that I've spoken to.
So basically, using the old housing and reusing them in a sense. But I think there's a big move also for people to stay where they originally stayed, not move out. I think with like transfer costs and moving costs and stuff, rather just stay and alter what you have, which is a good thing, I think, for your older suburbs, because then you don't have that sort of outflux of people that moves. People actually stay and try and keep their neighborhoods, which works, I think, in a neighborhood situation. Works quite well. Cool. Thank you. I think to end off our session today, I would like to just touch on sort of everybody of you and like just ask sort of what you would take from this moving forward. What I think us as young architects and designers in South Africa, I think what we would like to give back or say to South Africans, say, look, this is where we are, this is what we've gone through, and yeah, that's almost a bit of motivation, I would say, at the end for us, just to keep on going. Michael, if we can start with you.
No, I think, like I said before in discussing previously, I think it's, and Wynand touched on it, it's not the first pandemic. It's definitely not going to be the last. And I think, I mean, COVID-19 is not going to be going anywhere in the foreseeable future. it's not going to go off on a summer holiday or anything and then come back later. But so I think we've got to learn to live with it, and we've got to learn to live around it. And I think, yeah, I think if everyone just takes sort of care of the next person on, then yeah, the world will start kind of multiplying and looking after each other. So I think, yeah, from an architectural side, like I said, not too much has changed in a design aspect, but there will be certain structures and systems in that I think, like I said before, even with presentation, it's forced its hand, it's forced a move for us to actually look into alternative ways of doing things. So I did my studies in the UK, and I lived in the UK for 7 years. And then again, moving back, just the freedom and that we have here, the social life, the outdoor life. South Africans as people are obviously a lot friendlier than what I came across. But yeah, I think we've got the mentality that we can't always get through everything, but at the same time, enjoy where we live and not obviously keep looking over the fence and seeing what other people are doing. I think it's great to kind of, yeah, we're all dealing with it as a world pandemic. So I think it's a nice forced hand of change. And I think we just got to be open to yeah, different types of design, construction methods, different ways of doing things. But yeah, keep going forward.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Aluwani, from your side.
Okay, for me, I would say that the situation is not permanent. It's a temporary situation. We'll get past it. We'll get through it. Let's just embrace it. It's something that is happening now. Let's take care of each other. Continue to oblige to whatever the requirements that are set as it stands. But I'm sure that in the future, we're going to go back to being human beings and take off the masks and enjoy life as we should be enjoying life. Yeah, so I mean, for me, that would be the word of motivation, that it's not the end of the world, it's gonna get better.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Nikita?
Yeah, for me, I think the major thing is just basically technology, the way we use our technology today, and also the latest programs or VR, and that I think that is really the biggest change. But from design, I think it'll stay the same. And like everyone's saying, the pandemic it'll soon end, and we will be all here again without masks socially. So I think it's just mostly the technology that have more of an impact.
Yeah, almost the world where you don't need to just judge people on their eyes in a sense, because it's such a you suddenly now when you need to smile, you need to smile with your eyes too, because otherwise people can't see like what you're feeling behind the mask at the end of the day. That's that. Wynand, from your side.
This to me is a very interesting topic and question. I've written an article that was published recently about life after lockdown and where we're heading, and you know, the mindset of people around the world currently about the pandemic. And I think most of the fear comes from the fact that there's so many unknowns with regard to virus. So we don't know, for example, in the construction industry, no one wants to kick off a big project now because you don't know the certainty of whether we're going back into level 5 lockdown. I mean, there's no certainty, you don't know. So I think what I've also said in that article is that you can't be driven by fear. Like, you have to live, and we as South Africans specifically need to get up and we need to move forward. We need to rebuild our economy. So I guess what I would say to everyone is, I don't believe there's anything to fear. Like, we need to move forward and we need to rebuild. So that's more or less my advice.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think from my side, taking also from what everybody said, this is actually exciting times if you look at this with the uncertainty. But it's exciting times because you're being like forced to look at things in a whole different way. Like what I started doing with my baking, I actually started baking rusks, and I'm actually giving that to my clients and saying, "Hi guys, just to remind you, we're still here. And like, yeah, so that's stuff like that, like looking at stuff differently. And I think this makes this times for us so much more exciting. Like, and I think we need to embrace that. I don't think, well, I don't hope so, but I don't think this will happen as fast as what we had now. But yeah, just actually enjoy this wave and work and use it to your advantage, I would say. But yeah, cool. Thank you, guys. I think that's the end. Jean?
Thank you. Yeah, very, very interesting. Really, really interesting stuff from all of you and get us all thinking. Thank you so much for your participation and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.